Larva is singular, larvae is plural. The actor in Goliath Awaits is named Robert Forster, not Robert Forrester. Shame on me, he's a wonderful actor. Jackie Brown. We said we were going to keep showing clips from Goliath Awaits, but we did not have permission last week, and now we're in a bit of a legal tangle with Larry White Productions. This is fascinating. I saw this on the Wikipedia page. The original Goliath Awaits is 200 minutes, but if you get it on VHS, it's only 110 minutes. I think it says a lot about the script that you can cut out 90 minutes and maintain the integrity of the story. I guess it was originally 110 minutes, but in order to make it a two-night miniseries event, they needed to get it up to 200 minutes. And if you're wondering how they took a 110-minute script and got it to 200 minutes, they had Reese do a pass. Now, Seth Reese, that's our writer. And again, that was a burn, not a particularly fair one. But in return for the burn, I'm going to remind you, he's got a new film called The Menu. This is not me joking around. This is a Vanity Fair headline. The Menu is not what you expect, it's better. So keep an eye out for The Menu, and you'll continue, obviously, to see us plugging it here, because we are going to continue to burn Reese and feel bad about it. Oh, I said clouds were made from the air, when in fact they're made from water droplets or ice crystals. In my defense, I did say they were made from the air from the perspective of Mike Lindell, as evidenced by the fact that instead of saying the air, I said the air. And I feel like when I'm in character that you cannot correct that when I'm in the middle of one of my impressions, because that's not me anymore. That's someone speaking through me. That's why the impressions are so good. I'm channeling them. And it feels seamless when you watch a closer look and you see me doing someone like Mike Lindell, but we have to make edits because obviously for people in the studio, they know that before I do a Mike Lindell, it's like... It's pretty long. It's like an incantation and a pretty... It's not fun to be here live. We mentioned a cheese ball tub full of Xanax, and we showed a graphic, and according to many of you, the pills in the tub were the wrong shape to be Xanax. So for everyone who pointed that out, I know this goes without saying, but you gotta relax. Costco doesn't sell giant tubs of cheese ball. This is actually, I'm reading this verbatim. This is something that was said in. Costco doesn't sell giant tubs of cheese balls. Do you even have a Costco membership? I do not. Not only do I not buy my cheese balls in bulk, I buy them one at a time. Go to my artisanal cheese ball guy. Just one, Pierre. Brie. But then nobody in Manhattan shops at Costco. That's the reality of it. Nobody has space. Should we buy bulk cheese balls or have a sink? I said machinations. I was told it was machinations. I do know it's machinations, but I avoid saying Mac, just in general, because it reminds me of a you-know-who. This monster. Who's scarier? Really, just real quick. Who do you think's scarier, Black Phone Dude or Mac the Knife? If you like burgers, get in my van, kids. I called the new break-off golf league that's competing with the PGA, I called it LIV. I guess it's Live. And so I apologize. The last thing I ever want to do is offend a Saudi-backed golf league. My apologies to the Saudi royal family, especially MBS. Sorry, MIBS. I talked about Little Mermaid. I said Ariel instead of Ariel. I can explain. I have a sister-in-law whose name is Ariel, and when I first met her, I accidentally said Ariel, and she slapped me in the face. So now I'm gun-shy to say Ariel. Even when I know it's Ariel, I say Ariel. And it's funny that I would accidentally call my sister-in-law Ariel because she's more of an Ursula. This is why it's great that no one in my family watches corrections. They don't even know it's a thing. Why do you get home late on Thursdays now? I'll never tell. Hey, so in Jokes Seth Can't Tell, we said that some Lord of the Rings fans are expressing anger about black hobbits. And a lot of Lord of the Rings fans said, hey, that's very unfair to say that. You should have said some bigots. Like, it's very unfair to, lump all of us Lord of the Rings fans together. And that's a very fair criticism, and I do want to apologize. I think the only thing that it's safe to say about all Lord of the Rings fans, because of course they contain multitudes, the only thing that's true of all of you is you're incapable of being bored. We always end Jokes Seth Can't Tell by saying black women and lesbians are liars. And one of you said, what about black lesbians? It's weird. They're very honest. It's like a double negative situation. Wanda Sykes tells you something, take it to the grave. Hey, it's Twinings, not Twinnings. I just genuinely didn't know that, but I messed that up. Also, the Queen drank Gordon's gin, not Beefeater. Vegan. Wait, where? Oh, this is cool. You guys, Detroit-style pizza is back at Pizza Hut, third year in a row that they brought it back. It's their rectangular-shaped pie with a thick, crispy crust edge. It comes loaded with your choice of toppings and premium vine-ripened tomato sauce. And, I said it before, I'll say it again. No one out-pizzas the Hut. And that's just something I believe. Okay? That's just me sharing something. It's not even a correction. I mean, the correction was Detroit-style pizza was gone, and now it's back again. Because again, if that was a paid consideration furnished by Pizza Hut, we legally would have to put it on a chyron that we'd keep up for like 2.5 seconds. I'm not just allowed to say it. I will say it would be pretty cool if a brand decided to pay some money to get their name in corrections. If I was a jackal trying to decide between two pizza places, I might tip the scales. Pretty cool. Maybe a wake-up call for other brands out there. Get a bidding war going. Hey, sometimes I gotta give jackals credit where credit's due. I talked about Jacques Cousteau's short-lived 1960s Canal Plus prank show, Jacques. The only downside is more than one of you had a better one. And to be honest, I'm more impressed when it's just one person, but this would have been better. Congratulations, jackals. There was it was all sort of Sea Life style pranks. And there was a really good episode where Steve-O, Etienne, it was called The Sperm Whale, and it wasn't the mammal. We mentioned the Cake song, the band Cake song, Going the Distance, and, which obviously I don't have to tell you was on the album Fashion Nugget, but then when we put up the key was the album Prolonging the Magic, and I was obviously as surprised as anybody else in the closer look, and you could feel the gasp from the audience, because everybody, I think, both was on board with the Cake reference and very surprised that we put up the wrong album. And so I went down to graphics, and, I wanted to unload on them, but they weren't the problem. The problem was, one of our producers, Emily Arotis, is just a huge Cake fan. She's a Cake head. A great producer, fast, thorough, sharp as a tack, but she's always felt very strongly that Prolonging the Magic is the Cake album. And so I guess she overruled the graphics department, and I just went, I marched into her office and was like, do you really think Prolonging the Magic is better than Fashion Nugget? And she was like, yes, I do. And I'm like, even after Damiani and Brown left? And she's like, because they left. And then you're just like, enough. When you're arguing cake with Emily, it's just sometimes it's better to walk away. You can legally drive a golf cart on the highway in Florida as long as it can reach the minimum speed of 40 miles per hour. Someone told me this and said if I didn't believe him, I could look it up in the Florida statutes for motor vehicles. So I looked up the Florida statutes for motor vehicles, and I decided I would just like open Apple F old golf carts to go to the one mention. Guess how many times golf carts is mentioned in the Florida statutes for motor vehicles? 57 times. Tell me you're a legal document from Florida without telling me you're a legal document from Florida. Oh, so we were talking about, I accidentally said the Fonzie, and then I explained it by saying I was talking about the Russian Happy Days, which of course we mentioned is called These Days, While Not Happy Are Still Days. That was who the Fonzie was from. But a lot of you said there is no word for the in the Russian language. So the only way to distinguish one Fonzie from the other Fonzies in Russian would be to call him only Fonzie. And I think that's better. If instead of the Fonz, it was only Fonz. Hey, only Fonz. And then, someone was, and again, I credit where credit's due. I thought maybe I should write the full lyrics to These Days, While Not Happy Are Still Days, but one a Jackal did. And I'd just like to read them, because I do actually think it's a beautiful piece of work. And again, so this would be, obviously this would be a show that came out, based on the world we're setting up here. It would be on television in Russia from like 74 to 84, but it would be about Russia in the 50s, just like our Happy Days. You follow Shoemaker? Do you follow? I wish you could see his face. He's like... All right, here we go. Sunday, Monday, these are days. Tuesday, Wednesday, also days. Thursday, Friday, again are days. No weekends, work begins. Stalin is great for you. These days on us, devoid of joy, that's every day. Again, this is based on the previous Russia, not fun one. Well, the menu in theaters, what? Not anymore? All right, you guys, I'm very happy to be with you again. Hey, why don't you see me next week?